Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Pac-Man here, and once again I am back for the likes of the Merxy Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Land 3 for the Game Boy/Game Boy Color for those of you who lived in Japan. So, last time we've basically managed to complete everything in terms of the Lost World, and at the same time we did manage to once again beat Baron K. Rulstein once and for all. In this case, in the most anticlimactic thing in the world, but all you have to do is just basically have to be able to dodge things and basically just use barrels to attack him, just like in the forms of how it does on the first time we fight against him. So, yeah, if you think, as I said before, that if you think this game was over and done with, because, well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is the reason why it took so long to able to get into this video, because originally I was expecting to do that particular finale part during the likes of it yesterday, and as a result though, I'll explain more details about that in a moment. So today, this is it. This is gonna be the true finale in terms of Donkey Kong Land 3, and because of that, we are now tackling through the forms of the rest of the time attack mode. So as you can see, there are 12 stages in total, and each they have their own unique themes to it though. So I believe one of those themes only has like one specific level, so I don't think I can probably name them in the top of my head. Even though, let me know in the comments down below, because again, it has been about quite a few days actually, since originally this was supposed to be uploaded during the forms of on this Saturday, but of course Tiona decides able to take over for a bit for the sake of the forms of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX for a bit. So because of that though, I think that's the only reason why that it took so long to able to actually get back into this game since last Sunday. And because of this though, as you can probably tell from the actual the commentary standpoint, this is my post commentary, because as you can tell from the actual specific portions all by itself, as you can see on screen, for time attack though, all you have to do is just basically you have to beat a certain amount of time, and then in order to able to get your full 103% completion, you must be sure you need to able to beat a certain amount of time. And that particular part does remind me of something. Mind you, this game technically came out first before Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped exists. Yes, I'm referring to it as the forms of how the fact that this particular time attack kind of thing, it does kind of reminds me of the Crash Bandicoot time trial relics and stuff like that. So because of this though, yeah, in order able to complete everything in the game, it's this far the fact that, well, you get out able to beat a certain amount of time, and then when you've done so, then you're able to actually get yourselves your full 103%. So, it seems it's so weird about the fact that this game never seemed able to bring back the banana birds, unlike the forms of how it does in Donkey Kong Country 3. But I totally get it because of the forms of, like I said before, a different story and a different plot. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, that's just pretty much as far as I can say about it. So, yeah, I will try my best if I was gonna able to try to beat a certain amount of time for each and every single level. So because of this though, some of them are pretty easy. While I would say only one of them is actually pretty easy, while at the same time though, that's also another reason why it took me so long to able to actually get into this stuff. I have to do a lot of edits for the sake of the forms of this video alone. And that is mainly because I have to do a successful attempts rather than showing you guys the failed attempts, and because of this though, yeah, it does remind me of Crash Bandicoot time trial relics, so specifically the platinum time trial relics, as well as the forms of the gold relics and stuff like that, which, yeah, I can totally see why it actually feels a bit slightly similar, so except the fact that, well, this game came out first before Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped exists, like I said before. So anyway, today's date is of course the 25th of September today, in this case in 2022 today, and it looks like about the fact the matter is though is the fact that Mario Kart Tour has recently came out for about 3 years ago now. Well, despite the fact that we are still felt a bit mixed about the game, just because of the forms of bad controls, and especially noticeable with the forms of, you know, the bad microtransactions description for it. And on top of all that stuff though, it's just the fact that, well, although don't get me wrong, I think I somewhat enjoyed it for what it is, but it's just the fact that it might have been pales in comparison to the forms of the superior Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, at least in my opinion, just because, you know, amazing visuals and all that stuff, as well as much more better controls, and I'm sure that possibly Tiona will explain more details about that, or perhaps even maybe that Maxie will able to actually mention more about it until when he goes back on to Super Mario 3D All-Stars in the Super Mario Galaxy game after all, so yeah, that begs the question for it, so. And also, if you do not realize, is the fact that every time you're able to actually beat a certain time on the time attack mode, basically, if you see that estimation mark showed up right next to the actual new record time, basically this actually means that you've actually completed it. So, something worth keeping noting for this point, especially because, well, again, in order able to actually just get 103%, you have to be sure you need able to complete all the time trial stages and all that stuff. So, like right here, I've almost got able to actually fail this stage, but luckily, I've managed to do it on the first go around. So because of this though, I literally just somehow managed to win by 7 milliseconds from that specific time. So, luckily though, for those of you probably wondering about the fact that how come I somehow died at first as Dixie Kong, and then quickly switched over to Kiddy Kong, well, every time before you start the actual stages up, basically, what's nice about the forms of the time attack mode, I must admit, is the fact that you can able to actually start the stage off with both Dixie Kong and Kiddy Kong right from the get-go. So because of this though, that way you can able to actually just to get a better opportunity to able to get a lot of like, I would say defense options or something. Mind you, it has been about a week ago since I actually last played this game, like I said before. Because, trust me, this actually took me a lot of edits to do, especially noticeable if you really want to able to see the actual true completionist like I was going to be expecting to do. Well, prepare to be tested as far as this is concerned, so because of this though, yeah, I can totally see why about the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that, well, it might be a bit of an optional kind of stuff, but it's usually mandatory if you really want to see what the actual reward is, if you managed able to get 103%. So yeah, that might be something worth knowing for. So anyways, it looks like we've almost at the halfway point in terms of time attack mode. And not only that, because you need to be fast, as well as the forms of trying to be more steady with the controls, and also on top of all that stuff though, remember that rolling technique as we keep on using throughout the majority of the actual rest of the Donkey Kong Country games, including the Donkey Kong Land games as well. We have to use that quite often, especially noticeable about the fact that every time you roll into enemies and stuff like that, basically you get a short burst of speed, and then, trust me, I think that will be the easiest recommendable thing to do, aside from the fact that you still need to be very careful most of the time, especially noticeable just like in any other Crash Bandicoot time trial relics and stuff like that, that basically you have to be so perfect on certain stages, like right here on the tree level that, in my previous attempts, despite the fact that I'm not showing you guys the failed attempts, oh my god, it actually did took me about 20 attempts on that particular new record time challenge for the sake of the forms of this particular part. And the most annoying thing about the time attacks for me though is those godforsaken porcupine enemies, because for the love of God, I always get hit by these things, and as a result, it's way too easy to able to actually just get hit by them very, very quite often, especially noticeable if you're trying to rush, and also not to mention though, if you're trying to pull off certain shortcuts, well, believe me, those stupid red porcupines are the bane of my existence, because they just showed up like nothing else, although luckily most of the enemies aren't too much of a threat in my opinion. It's just that those godforsaken porcupines, they're just trying to outright against me. But I digress. So, anyway, another thing I would like to explain, I believe Tiona has already mentioned about that ever since in the, you know, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX Let's Play, that obviously it's been about a year ago since when My Little Pony, A New Generation movie has been released. So, yeah, I can't believe it's been about a year ago, despite every now and then though is the fact that, relatively speaking though, actually gonna think about it, speaking of which, that tomorrow, the actual proper series of My Little Pony Make Your Mark series on Netflix will be releasing tomorrow, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be well received from that point, but we'll just see what happens as soon as when the actual series comes out. So, in fact, let me know in the comments down below if you're the bronies out there only, so relatively speaking though, there's not much else to discuss, so Alrighty, so we've actually completed the cliff stage, so yeah, let's just move on now to the machine. So, I think the longest stage out of all the actual time attack based levels is obviously taking place in the falls, because obviously you are able to climb all the way higher up, and as a result, it might actually be something related to emphasis on, you know, be very steady and be careful most of the time, so you don't able to accidentally slip yourself up. And most of the time, though, you have to be, like, patient and stuff like that, so... Because I did somehow manage to able to see some speedrunners of this game, specifically 103%, mind you about the fact that the version they're playing on is the Japanese exclusive Game Boy Color version, and I will say I was quite impressive about this, although despite the fact that sometimes certain levels might give me some bit of trouble, but anyway... by the way, I highly also recommend, especially noticeable about the fact that if you really so desperately want to able to beat the time as fast as possible, I highly recommend Dixie Kong throughout the majority of this entire run. Mainly because her ponytail looks badass, and also because of this though, that she rocks, especially noticeable just trying to go for the dangerous obstacles and stuff like that. So because of this though, yeah, I highly recommend the forms of Dixie Kong for the majority of the time attack run, so because of that though, that makes the entire purpose of this a lot more comfortable to you. So either way though, because chances are, you're gonna need it, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, you know, just for the sake of completionist as far as this is concerned. And there's that shortcut I was trying to show you guys for this point, so... in the waterfall level, kind of think about it, so, anyway, so, yeah, another thing I would like to explain about this also is the fact that, relatively speaking, we're actually getting, you know, quite close towards the end of the forms of September already, before we move on to the forms of the 10th month, which is October, so, stupid little rat. Oh yeah, sometimes I will have to admit though right away, is that trying to play the game on Super Game Boy mode might be kind of difficult to pull off sometimes, especially noticeable that since we're on the cliff, or actually gonna think about it, we're actually on the waterfalls kind of environment level, this also means about the fact that you have to watch out for certain enemy encounters that usually sometimes they all blend in with the background, so because of this though, I can totally see why that a lot of people seem to prefer playing the Game Boy Color version of the game, as opposed to the original Game Boy version as far as I'm concerned, because obviously you can't really tell what's going on in that particular background, because I'm pretty sure that thankfully the Game Boy Color version and the Japanese exclusive version, that at the very least, that certain enemy encounters do have that different color to them, so as a result, there's not much else I can honestly try to say about this, so... Anyways, let's go ahead and continue, and hopefully we're just gonna have to able to use those rocket barrels, so just in case we can able to blast all the way higher up. And relatively speaking, that Dixie Kong will help out, especially noticeable in this stage, so... And of course, that the only bad thing about this level though is the fact that, like I said this before, in the regular main levels, that basically though, if you dare fall off the level, then obviously you're screwed, so... And luckily, since I got hit by that particular buzzer enemy right there, and then basically as soon as when Kiddy Kong just somehow respawned, and then basically though is the fact that it allows me to able to do another bounce jump, so that way, it'll allow me to able to actually just get ourselves a quicker way to able to actually access to certain segments of the level or something, so... But you know, you get the idea about that, so... Again, there's not much else I can say in terms of the forms of Donkey Kong Land 3, although... I was expecting if I was trying to mention about the forms of my final thoughts of the game already, but honestly guys, I think I'll probably should save that conversation as soon as we're able to actually just to conclude. Oh, you know, the rest of the forms of, well, the time attack levels, so... Yeah, you probably get the idea about this particular topic's worth noting for, but hey, at least it's something I guess. Honestly, out of all the actual time attack stages as far as the actual process goes, I would say that the Coral one is by far the hardest because you need to be a lot more accurate with all that. Well, let's just say that you have to able to learn about the forms of every other levels, that you have to replay the levels inside out. So because of that though, you have to figure out a lot of memorization, because if you don't get enough memorization from the get-go, then basically you're pretty much guaranteed you're probably not gonna make it by that point. So, these porcupine enemies. I despise these things so much. Although, thankfully though, those are the final time we will be seeing these little, stupid, porcupine enemies. Because, trust me, these guys are just outright against me. Oh yeah, you have to watch out for that last, enemy barrel just in here. Because, you know, tossing bombs and stuff. So yeah, that's basically about it. So now let's move on to the final 2 levels, which are the jungle, alongside with the forms of the tube level. So, I think between these 2 levels right here, these are by far the quickest. Although, mind you still need to be fast on this though, because otherwise, if you're too slow, or in some cases, if you die, then it just takes you back into the actual Time Attack leaderboard score menu. So, although thankfully that it doesn't drain lives, thankfully, it's just the fact that you have to keep trying. So, at the very least, that's that, but it will take you a lot of tries if you manage to do this right. So, now I'm pretty sure that collecting bear coins doesn't add it up, although, mind you, I haven't exactly paid attention because I was usually trying to rush through this. So, again, it does remind me of like I was playing Crash Bandicoot along with the forms of, well, let's just say, I would say Sonic the Hedgehog games as far as speedrun tactics as far as I'm concerned, although I may be wrong, but it knows what it is, I guess. So now we move on to the final level, which is the tube level, and that one is going to be one of the toughest. Because you need to be so perfect on this, especially noticeable if you dare get hit by those buzzer-like enemies, you will guarantee you will get screwed. And then to make matters worse, since about the fact that this is by far the shortest level in the game, and on top of all that stuff though, kind of easy once you get the hang of the forms of the timing jumps and what have you. And then, yeah, you just got to be so accurate with all these jumps and stuff like that. Because if you jump at the wrong time, and you're basically gonna get hit, and then also with your bobsled, it just gets a bit tad slower, and as a result, you have to be so accurate with the jumps. So, but there we go, we somehow managed to make it, despite I got hit by that stupid cramp trap, and there we go, we have basically concluded all the stages in Time Attack mode, and that's the reward you can get. You get a trophy that says 103%, congratulations, game completed, and that's literally about it. So, yeah, just for bragging rights, I guess, aside from the fact that you'll just achieve something. So, yeah, we basically just fully completed Donkey Kong Land 3. So, yeah, pretty swell, I have to say, despite it did took me a lot of edits to do with the successful attempts, and I'm not going to be bothering to show you guys the failed attempts, because, trust me, it just drags. So anyways though, that pretty much concludes our Let's Play of Donkey Kong Land 3, for the Game Boy, so slash Game Boy Color for Japan version and stuff like that. I will say, as I said before, this is by far my absolute favorite Donkey Kong Land game, because I will say, I really enjoyed the forms of the level layout around here. And also, while the story is a bit different, at the very least though, I still really hope that, relatively speaking though, yeah, as you can see, we've reached 103%, and we've got 78 bonus coins, 42 DK Hero coins, and 12 clocks watches. So, yeah, and it actually took me about 2 hours and 30 minutes, despite, you know, the amount of jump cuts I had to deal with, the failed attempts on Time Attack modes. Jeez, that was stressful. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching our Let's Play of Donkey Kong Land 3. I really do enjoy this playthrough, and as a result, I do enjoy the visuals of the game. It does manage to hold up very nicely, and the soundtrack is actually quite pleasant to listen to as well. It's basically the 8-bit version of the familiar themes you already heard of, and on top of all that stuff though, the gameplay itself, it's rather compatible to the forms of how it does it on the previous 2 games for sure. And the controls wise, it is alright, I guess, once you get used to it. So as a result, I highly recommend Donkey Kong Land 3 if you want to check it out on the original Game Boy cartridge version, or the emulator every now and then. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And up next, in terms of the Donkey Kong list of Let's Plays we might as well consider doing, we can do it from either Donkey Kong 64, or Donkey Kong Country Returns. Let me know it down in the comments down below, because I would like to hear the actual questioning about it. So, yeah, I'll see you guys at some point soon. Bye.